Welcome to Madison City Channel's Know Your Candidate interviews, co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Dane County. I'm your interviewer, Shel Gross, and I would like to introduce Sheri Carter, who is running for Alder in District 10. As we begin, please give an opening statement about the educational, vocational, and civic experience you have which prepares you for this office and why you are running for Alder.
Thank you. I have over 20 years of community engagement. I have worked with the South Metropolitan Planning Council, and I've worked with several neighborhood associations before I ran originally in 2015. In addition to that, I have been working for the state for over 20 years. So I feel that with my community engagement experience, with being a public servant experience during the day, and also I've worked in Los Angeles in different community organizations there. I know very much how government works, but I also know the other flip side of government, which is how communities work.
Thank you. How would you evaluate the city's current efforts to address homelessness and increase the amount of affordable housing? Are there additional steps the city should take to address these issues?
Well, I think that two things. I think that how we are addressing homelessness, I think we're doing an adequate job, but I think we also have to remember that you can't, there's no end game to homelessness. As you get people into housing, there's folks coming out of housing. So we really need to have a concrete plan on how to address homelessness. How do we do eviction prevention? How do we make sure that we have services for those that are just now coming out into homelessness? I think that there is much bigger than building a shelter. And I think that's one of the things that we, as a city, really needs to sit down and map out. I think at some point, at some time, I should say, it looks like we're chasing the rabbit. And I think there's ways that we can really look at how we can prevent homelessness, or at least reduce it. The other one was affordable housing. I think, again, we're building affordable housing. Are we building enough? I think it takes time to build. So I would say we're probably average. What I would like to see, though, is housing options. I would like to see a program for first-time homeowners. I would like to see rehab. We have thousands of older stock apartments that could be rehabbed and be affordable. So I think we have to look at more than one thing for affordable housing, but I think both of them takes time to really plan it out and not be behind the eight ball.
What actions or programs would you support to enhance public safety in Madison? And in particular, what is your position on the use of body cameras by Madison police officers, given the recent demonstration project?
Well, I have been for body cameras for a long time. We are surrounded by communities with body cameras. So I don't think body cameras prevent. I think they tell the story. I think that when folks pull up their cell phones, that tells another story, but I cannot depend on you pulling out your cell phone. So I think we need the whole thing. I think that as far as public safety goes, I think we have to have common sense community policing. I think we have to realize that the areas in Madison that are basically our entertainment areas is downtown. So how do we make downtown safer? Right? And keeping that in mind at all times. I think that the other thing is we did a pilot on the body cameras. I don't know where that is, but I do hope that we will get body cameras eventually. So far, it's been 6 years, but eventually we'll get body cameras in Madison.
In the wake of the recent referendum to increase property taxes, what are your priorities for the city budget?
Well, my priorities are very simple because I think that the services that our residents have come to appreciate and deserve and expect need to be top priority. And then as we move out from that, I think there's room to do some other things. I can't tell you what those are at this moment, but I think that we have to really look at what is our necessary services. And that is because with the referendum, property taxes has gone up. We cannot keep pushing people out of Madison because of the high property taxes. So I think this is a good crossroad for us to start thinking about other ways to do the budget.
How should Madison balance the need for development with other concerns such as traffic, historic preservation, and conservation of natural areas?
Yeah, well, I think that that's a tightrope that we've been on for many, many years. I do believe that we have to really look at two things. When we are talking about development, we also have to look at transit. And when we don't do that at the same time, then we end up with the gridlock on the Beltline, right? Because buses only go so far. I think that we really have to look at continuing expanding our transportation because two things. Urbanites want transportation, and I think suburbanites are really looking at why don't we have transportation? So when you do a development, you have to look at those two things. Now, when you go beyond that, you also have to look at whether there has to be green space, because I think that is just essential in living in Madison and living in the Midwest, period. So I think you have to also look at green space, but you have to look at that traffic thing. And the only way to look at that realistically is also looking at transportation.
What are the most critical issues that you see facing the people in your district, and what would you propose to address these?
Well, I think the critical issue of the neighborhoods in my district is in neighborhood investment and neighborhood initiatives. And I don't see that really happening at this moment. So that would be one of my priorities. I also feel that we're at a stage in Madison where we really need to look at building up small businesses. Small businesses will start in a variety of places, downtown, of course, but they might start up in a strip mall. That creates walkable jobs for people in that neighborhood. And I think we definitely need to invest in small businesses.
What would you like to say to the viewing audience as we complete this interview?
Well, one of the things that I would like to say is an alder has two responsibilities. They have a responsibility to their district and a responsibility to the city as a whole. But an alder must be connected to that district. You must know what the constituents want, need, and wish for. I think that when you're looking at an alder, that's what you should be looking for. And I have the track record to prove that I am in touch with my constituents, in touch with my community, in touch with my district. And we might not always agree, but we will have the dialogue and we will come to a compromise.
I want to thank Sheri for speaking with us and thank the viewing audience for taking the time to know your candidates. I want to remind everyone that primary election day is Tuesday, February 18th, and the general election is Tuesday, April 1st. Every election is important. Please vote. On behalf of Madison's City Channel and the League of Women and Voters of Dane County, I thank you for joining us.